Hello and welcome to Business Standard Views of the Week. Can we combat climate change successfully even as governments across the world fail in doing their part? Does the Indian Navy need more submarines or a third aircraft carrier? And why are India's 2030 climate targets more significant than its 2070 net zero goal? Subscribe to Business Standard and read this week's top opinion pieces to find out. This episode of BS Views is dominated by pieces on climate change and COP26. We begin with an incisive column that looks beyond conventional wisdom in search of solutions. Governments have so far failed to address climate change in a meaningful manner. Conferences like the one underway in Glasgow at present, the COP26, have mostly failed to meet expectations. In fact, William Nordhaus, who won the Economics Nobel 3 years ago, has worked out the striking conclusion that despite all the global conferences on the environment over the last 30 years, the rate of decline in carbon emissions per unit of GDP has remained more or less unchanged at 1.8% per annum. One might as well have not held those conferences, and there is a reason to believe that governments will continue to fail. Amid all this bad news, T.N. Nenan's latest column argues that there might be some hope left for the future. Nenan outlines a plan B of sorts that could succeed in saving the planet where governments have come up short. Plan A or Plan B? Let's remember what's at stake and the fact that there is likely to be no Plan C. And with that in mind, let's dive into how India can achieve its climate goals. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's speech at the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change powerfully articulated the Global South's concerns about climate change. In fact, the priorities of wealthy nations raise several questions. While the West is fixated with the net zero target, does achieving it mean the same thing for children born in India and those born in much wealthier Europe or the US? Shouldn't the world focus on the pathways to net zero rather than fixating on the year a country would achieve that target? Answering these crucial questions, Rathin Roy's latest column reveals how rich nations have failed the world when it comes to climate change, and how India is well positioned to play its rightful role in all of this. Most importantly, it fleshes out a transformative path that will not only enable India to reach net zero well before 2070, but also renew the India growth story and address the problem of rising inequality. No doubt, policymakers would do well to consider Roy's arguments on ensuring climate justice. Now, continuing with the theme, we move on to a last piece on climate change, which leaves us with a clear warning about the future. Prime Minister Modi's 5 point Panch Amrit pledge at COP26 in Glasgow has burnished India's climate credentials. However, what about the other major parties at the conference? Are the rich nations of the world stepping up to the cause? And have developments at COP26 met the expectations of a world that's just about ready to fall off the climate cliff? Answering these questions in his latest column, Shyam Saran not only explains the significance of India's 2070 net zero target, but also why its 2030 targets are much more significant and substantial. And in doing so, he also paints the picture of a perilous future that might await the world, with everything from emerging technologies to major climate initiatives taken into account. Hopefully, COP26 will deliver some concrete results and pull us back from the brink of a climate catastrophe. Now, we shift to another pressing topic, the defense of the realm. Does the Indian Navy need more submarines or a third aircraft carrier to counter China in the Blue Seas? And are these two things mutually exclusive? These are the major questions that India's defense establishment needs to answer, and answer soon, even as China flexes its military muscles more and more often. In his latest column, Ajay Shukla makes his own forceful argument about which direction the Indian Navy should head in. In the process, he explains the emerging security architecture in the Indo Pacific and lays out a mission plan that will enable India to secure its maritime interests. To be sure, there are not going to be any quick fixes for the problems that plague India China relations. Dealing with an aggressive China will remain one of the government's primary challenges for years to come. Speaking of national challenges, our next piece deals with the biggest of them all, ensuring a sustained and broad economic recovery. Samvat 2077 saw an extraordinary mix of best and worst times. The market rally took stocks to the best performance in 12 years, backed by an even bigger surge in cryptocurrencies and commodities. India also managed to administer 1 billion vaccine doses of COVID 19, fully protecting roughly one fourth of the population. But on the downside, the second wave overwhelmed the healthcare system, raising the death toll. There have also been persistent unemployment and distress across the informal economy. With all this in mind, Business Standard attempts to answer where Summer 2078 will take the economy and the markets. Most importantly, the editorial also prescribes what needs to be done to drive growth and broaden the base. It's clear that despite the recent euphoria surrounding the economy, India has a long way to go before it can get back to the high growth years. However, one sector of the economy is seeing a boom like never before. The ongoing IPO rush, mostly from the startup universe, has led to euphoric reports about steep valuations and mega fundraising. Meanwhile, the worst of the pandemic seems to be behind us. So, are things finally looking up for corporate India? especially startups. Not so fast. In her latest column, Nivedita Mukherjee delves into how COVID has found mention universally in the IPO prospectus of companies, from that of Zomato and Paytm to Delivery and Oyo. And she decodes what this says about India Inc.'s sentiment and how it sees things playing out in the months to come. What one can say for now is that hopefully we will not see a third COVID-19 wave, or at least it will not be as severe as the second. Now, we bring this episode of BS Views to a close with an editorial on the rebranding of an internet giant. The renaming of Facebook to Meta indicates an intended route to future growth for the group. However, this comes at a time when the company has been hurt by negative reports based on internal data leaked by whistleblowers. These indicate that it is willing to overlook hate speech and fake news in the quest for engagement. Amid the growing scrutiny of the group's practices and business model, Business Standard highlights the problems, from negative perceptions to regulatory pressure, that the rebranding will help address and those that it won't.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.